Mississippi has so many good places for you and your family to eat, stay, and play. So go to visitmississippi.org to explore a little more. You know, we love to support our local farmers here on Good Things, as well as our local businesses. And now we've got a unique way for you to maybe think outside of the box and connect the two. So joining us today on Good Things is beef farmer Jody Reyer of Reyer's Farms. Hey, Jody.
Hey, Rebecca. How are you today?
I am doing well. Thank you for pausing your work on the farm because I know it never ends to chime in with us. But I reached out to you yesterday because I saw this unique thing that's going around where families and friends are coming together to basically crowdsource their funds to purchase a steer from their local farmer and then connect with a local butcher because apparently there's not a meat shortage, as some would like to say. There's just a processing plants are closed. Can you help us unpack this, Jody?
Yeah, I'll be glad to help in any way I can. What you're talking about is really thinking outside the box. It's throwing an old idea and bringing it back to the modern table, I guess. But you have a bottleneck with inspected processing, which is where your meat comes from the grocery store. So it's going to be USDA inspected. In the state of Mississippi, we have USDA inspected, and we also have a state inspected. So that gives us some flexibility, but there's still just not enough room. But if you own the animal, you can then take it to a custom exempt plant and have it processed just like a farmer would. And we have far more options when you take the inspection off the table. And that allows people to have a direct relationship with their farmer, build relationships with their neighbor. I know a lot of people call it cowpooling instead of carpooling.
I like it. And I guess the idea of it, Jody, just to be clear, would be and you may want to, like if you've got a large family, you may look at this as an investment throughout the year. You just better have some backup generators on your deep freezer in case those things go out over the year. Or you pair with a few friends or family. You have to purchase the steer while the steer's still with us, right? And then you can take it to your local butcher who would love the business, and then they do their job.
It is it has a lot of benefits that are just not readily available. Number one, you never have to really worry about when company shows up because you just pull some more ground beef or maybe one of those top round roast out of it, and you get a lot of flexibility in meal planning for people that do their whole week's worth of meals. It takes one step out. That's one thing. You're not hauling back and forth from the grocery store. And the eating all over the animal, trying cuts that you may not have tried before. There's one thing about the whole COVID thing. 3 years ago, our best-selling steak was a cowboy ribeye, and we sold it far beyond any other steak. But when we started selling out of ribeyes, people were forced to try different cuts. And a lot of them said, well, I really prefer this cut. I really like this cut. So you get exposed to some new things, and then you're taking charge of your own supply chain.
Yeah.
So
well, and I love
really
that.
Changes.
You also get to meet and understand, know your farmer on a completely different level, Jody, which I think is super cool. And you guys are still small businesses. I mean, we call you our local farmer, but at the end of the day, you're still a local business who's trying to also continue to expand and grow and support your own family. So what does it mean to you whenever you've got people coming in and you're going to be able to sell, an entire cow does that help with your business?
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, every business benefits from a budget. And if I know that I've got 4 families that are coming together and they want a beef apiece, well, that lets me budget my input cost, my rotating, my fencing, everything that we do. It helps that budget. The model from the processing side, it keeps them a steady workflow workflow, so they don't have ups and downs. And so I think it's a win-win from everybody because the supply chain is constant.
Right.
And
So, Jody, if someone's listened to Good Things and they're hearing this for the first time, this cowpooling that we were sort of calling it, where you can go in with a few families, purchase a live steer, and then connect it with a local butcher, and then you've got meat for 3, 6 months, even to a year, depending on how much you eat beef every week, or you can do it multiple times a year. I'm sure you wouldn't mind that. How far in advance? Like, how does this work? So if I wanted to do that, and I know Reyer's Farms offers this, and I know there's a lot of local farms throughout the state of Mississippi in terms of beef farmers who do this as well. Do I just call you up and say, hey, Jody, me and 3 friends want a cow?
that's basically how simple it is. We usually ask some questions as far as what your expectations are, what you cook like. You know, some people eat a lot of ground beef. Some people are not so much ground beef eaters. So we try to pick a steer that will meet your expectations, and then we schedule it out. The turnaround right now, with the way that just the orders coming in and with the steers, it's really about 2 months, and you're ready to go. So that gives everybody plenty of time to plan your storage space, and you know, sometimes we can do it quicker. Most customers will let you know 3-4 months in advance that have done it before, because they start looking at that freezer and they say, hey, we need to do it again. So
do you find that people who pull the trigger and do it one time, Jody, are repeat customers?
Absolutely. We have always had a steady supply for year after year customers that bought whole beef. In the past 3 years, it has increased exponentially to now we do more whole beef than we do retail sales anymore. So I like it a lot better. It allows me to plan my days out a lot better. I don't have to commit so much time to farmers market, which is, a double-edged sword. But I enjoy the farmers market, but that's 6 or 8 hours that I don't get to allocate to growing beef.
You also add into this, too, which just isn't part of the conversation, is your local butcher, who's also going to get a steady supply of work and have the opportunity to get to know them and cut it the way you want. And over the time, you're going to build that relationship sort of as well. So if we are interested in maybe being a first-time steer purchaser, Jody, what's a good number in terms of like people to cowpool with? I mean, is 3 to 4 or maybe 2? I mean, you're probably not going to go out the first time and buy your own steer, right out the gate. I mean, that's kind of a huge commitment. So how many families should maybe come together to try it for the first time?
The average family, it would be good for them to pair with at least one other family. If these families eat out more than 2-3 times a week, they'd probably want to pair it with 2 other families.
See, that's just taking into consideration, your everyday. Yeah. And you want to make sure you use the beef within a year, right? Like I know in terms of just being the best quality, not safest, it will be safer longer than that. But don't you usually want to make sure you use it up within 6 months, probably to a year? So sort of think that through too.
A lot of that is dependent upon how you choose to have it processed and packaged. There are packaging options that'll let you go beyond that. If you're using freezer paper, I would say you want to use it within 6 months, 8 months, just because the integrity of the package, and it gets jostled around in your freezer. So even though it may be very tight when it goes in, you can have some breaks, and then that gives you some spots that may not look as good, or they may have been marred up, and it's just better to look at it from the 6 to 8 months if you're using freezer paper. Now, if you're using a vacuum seal, or a lot of plants now are moving to the cryovac, which is a lot heavier polymer, you'll have a extended shelf life on it.
Well, Jody, this is an interesting conversation. I appreciate your time. If people are interested in Reyer's Farms, how can they find you?
They can call me directly at 601-906-1185, or they can visit our website, www.ryerfarms.com.
All righty. Well, I appreciate your time. Get back to work on the farm. There's not a meat shortage. You should just connect with your local farmer. But stick with us. We got more for